During the last 500 years, contact between white civilization and remote tribes has followed two routes, both with disastrous consequences for indigenous peoples. Today, when most tribes are reluctant about contact with outsiders, explorer Sebastian Tirtiro travels around the world, asking them what kind of future they want to build. Sebastian and Gabby are on their way to the Democratic Republic of Congo, where they're planning on returning to visit old friends in the Pygmy tribe. Gabby is Sebastian's Congo specialist. At Sebastian's request, he went to the Congo in 2009 and spent almost 2 years with the Pygmies. The Congo is one of the most dangerous locations in the world, so planning is vital. We're flying into Entebbe, Uganda, and then reach Congo by road through the Kasindi checkpoint. From here, we travel to Beni, the first city inside Congo itself. Once all authorizations have been granted, we head for Aloya, the closest town to the people we're hoping to visit, the Bambute Pygmies.
So why did we choose Uganda to go to Congo? It's the most logical place. We're close to the border. From here we organize motorcycles, rides. From here we organize our entrance into Congo. Plus we worked in North Kivu, which is the closest province here.
From a political point of view, Uganda is one of Central Africa's most stable countries. This is why a lot of Western states and companies use it as a base from which they can manage their political and commercial interests in neighboring countries, such as the Democratic Republic of Congo. However, Uganda is one of the poorest nations in the world, with a third of the population living on less than $1 a day. Still, from what Gabby is saying, it seems things in Congo are much worse than here. Central Africa is steeped in religion. Most inhabitants are devout Christians, to the point that even their small businesses receive Christian names. The influence of the church is very strong here, and this could prove especially useful once we enter Congo.
So don't go too fast. You go first.
We need to find transport for our expedition into the Congo. If you want to get around cheaply and easily in Kampala, you rent a boda boda, the taxicabs used by locals. Our first option is to buy a few motorcycles. In this part of the world, motorcycles are the vehicle of choice for the poor, which would work to our advantage in Congo. However, the prices are too high. Buying 5 motorcycles would take a huge chunk out of our budget, and with the rampant corruption in Congo, you never know how much such an expedition will end up costing. So we're left with the option of renting a car. Though cheaper, there are disadvantages. Cars are a symbol of wealth in Congo and are often pulled over in armed robberies. It's a risk we're going to have to take.
Every time I start planning that I'm going to Congo, there is this tremendous anxiety and tension in my bones. And it's due to the fact that both the first time I went and the second time I went to Congo, I had a lot of trouble.
Being electrocuted in 2007 left him with serious after effects. When he undergoes intense strain, his body goes into powerful convulsions that can last for a couple of hours, affecting his heart and immune system. This time, the convulsions are too strong. The next day, Sebastian goes to a hospital in Entebbe for a checkup.
It was very high last night.
It was very high last night.
It was very high. I have a nurse with me, and he took the.
She has been taking your blood pressure.
Yeah, and it was very high.
Now at least it has gone a bit down, 130 over 90. But you will get blood test and medication, a couple of days, which you are going to stay here. But in Congo, it is not advisable. You are not going to travel there because your health does not allow. And given that yesterday night the convulsions were so frequent, we need to first attend to you the next couple of days. Yes, please.
Okay. So we can do blood tests here.
Yes, everything we are going to do it.
Okay.
But the other one, maybe you leave you have friends who are just going to continue with that.
I have the group that can go there. Okay.
Let's be done like that. For you are going to stay around here and we do some investigations.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Thank you very much.
You are welcome.
So, if something like this happens while I'm in Congo, then Gabi has to come with me to the first hospital, which is about 100 kilometers away, which would cut another 4 days short of our trip, and then the whole success of this expedition, I think, would be jeopardized. So I'd rather go back myself, and I leave the crew in the hands of Gabi, my trusted friend. Gabi works with me for the past 3 years. He's spent the most time in Congo. He worked with the pygmies way more extensively than I did. I'm taking off back to Namibia and Canada and see if I can fix this before we do some other expeditions.
We leave for the Congo. Soon we will enter one of the most dangerous countries on Earth. Gabi's mission is simple: to visit the pygmies and find out what they need. After that, Sebastian will try to arrange aid for the next expedition to Congo. Once we reach the border customs, the process of paying bribes begins, and it won't end until we leave the country.
Auzi, care aveți 44 la Bucanci?
Nu.
Cât ai? 44?
41.
Cât?
41.
43? Tu? Tu vine niște Bucanci. Nous sommes 4 personnes ici. Bien sûr que nous, par la loi, nous avons le droit de mener les effets personnels. On ne fait pas les...
Non. Vous pouvez m'acquitter de tous les excès de l'État.
Je vais vous montrer mon passeport. Il y a là même plus de 30 visas. De 20 înapoi. Vrea să ne confiște camerele, că nu ne-am declarat, că le importăm în Congo și n-am plătit taxe pentru ele. Sunt des ordinateurs, de quoi. Visa.
The paradox of loving this country and its people and fearing to go into this country, because from the border all the way to when you get out of the country, it's a constant pressure, constant tension and stress, and I never enjoyed that too much. Last time I went to Lubumbashi, Kasumbalesa and southern Congo, we spent 5 days in the border just to cross with a car inside Congo, and it's been very tough to deal with that. You pay the taxes, then tomorrow they come up with a new tax, and there's higher prices and higher evaluations and so forth. By the time you have all the papers, the chief doesn't want to put the last stamp because he has a wedding. He doesn't care. He wants to go and do that. By the time you finish everything, and people know you have all the papers, you want to live, you want to leave from the place, then 20 people surround your car and say, no, I showed you where to park, you owe me $5. I showed you where the gate is, you owe me $5. Everybody's asking for money. And this is very depressing for people that want to visit Congo, because I think they will have more visitors if they will loosen up a little bit.
Because of the cumbersome procedures, crossing the border took a very long time. And now that Sebastian isn't traveling with us, we're in a much more difficult situation. We need to travel to Beni by night. In eastern Congo, nobody goes out after dark, especially in the cities where crime is rife.
Quoi? Non, pour moi, il n'y a pas de problème. Nous ne voulons pas vous déranger aussi.
Fortunately, Gabi has friends in Beni, and he tries to get an update as we move on. It seems there are serious security issues in the area, so we hope that we'll make it safely to the city.
The biggest problem of all are the soldiers, because sometimes they are not paid. So during the day they are okay, but during the night they just become bandits looking for, their salaries. So the salary is not coming from government, so that's why in Congo no one is traveling during the night. From 6 o'clock in the evening until, let's say, 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning, nothing is moving. You just sit inside or stay wherever you are and wait for the light to come, because Congolese population, they used to say a soldier is a soldier during the day, but he's a rebel during the night, so watch out.
On our way, we can see signs of rebel troop hijackings. Many of the drivers, when attacked, lose control of the vehicle and end up driving off the edge of a ravine. It's close to midnight when we finally reach Beni and take shelter with Vena, an old friend of Gabi's. The next morning, we begin to find out why this is a dangerous time to be in this area.
As you know, we go through war for 13 years almost. And this part of Congo is the most which has been attacked with rebels. The situation that we are living now is that many people in this part of Congo, they have been corrupted to kill each other for their personal things, personal ideas, personal business. And this has lasted now like 2 months, 1 month ago. People are dying every night. And this is due to the problems that I've told you. Like 2 days ago, they have killed some 2 people in their homes. Some guys came to their home and they start shooting for any reason. But after so many investigations and so many findings, they found out that some of them, they are against the government. They would like to do this to make the government feel that it's not responsible. The government is doing nothing for the security of the population. And some of them do it because they would like to get some posts. They would like to be some people in the government. They would like to get jobs by force by doing this, because after they get investigation, maybe they can look for the people who did it, and when they find them, for the reason they will be asked why they did it, they can try to explain that they would like to have some post in the government situation.
So instead of putting them to prison, they will give them post in the government.
Yeah, because even if you put them in prison, they have a big team. You can put one person in prison, but the following day, those people will come to attack. That's the situation.
So you are saying now it's not good to travel at night, or what?
It's not good to travel at night because they are on the way all night. After 8 o'clock at night, PM, they stop in the bushes on the way, in the forest, to try to see people who are coming with the car. They attack them, they kill.
When the conference, we call it Conference de Berlin, this Berlin conference that happened in 1885, when Africa was divided into countries. They divided the country, so some Some Rwandese, people speaking Rwanda language, some of them went on the part of Congo. And these people, they kind of get this double nationality. You will find someone who is at the same time a Rwandese, but he calls himself a Congolese. Yeah, so that one has been a very serious problem that has created the civil war.
The conflicts in the Congo have been going on for over 130 years. At the 1884 Berlin Conference, the Congo was deemed the sole property of Leopold II of Belgium. He received full rights over this wealthy part of Central Africa. During his dominion, it's estimated that 10 million natives were massacred, accounting for around 50% of the total population. In 1908, the Belgian state bowed to international pressure and refused to tolerate Leopold's abusive regime, transforming the Free Congo into a Belgian colony. In 1960, under the leadership of Patrice Lumumba, the Congolese succeeded in gaining independence from Belgium. But the suffering of the Congolese tribes didn't stop here. Lumumba was assassinated shortly after independence, and in 1965, another cruel political system, this time a local one, started to oppress the people under the leadership of Mobutu Sese Seko, one of the most paranoid dictators of all Africa. In 1997, the anti-Mobutu forces started a civil war aimed at ousting his regime from power. The civil war lasted 6 years, and it's estimated that 5.4 million people were killed. Today, after almost 150 years of genocide, the Congolese people still live a hard life. North Kivu, located in the eastern part of the country, is an especially dangerous place. There's no transport infrastructure, no electricity grid, and practically no state involvement in public health and education. The majority of the hospitals and schools are under the protectorate of Christian churches and humanitarian foundations, which struggle to pay the basic running costs for these places.
Malaria.
They lack the financial resources to do anything more.
It's the unknown of everything in the country. It has no infrastructure. You don't know if when your petrol is finished, if you can fill it up somewhere. People don't have things, luxuries like that. You stop, you get a little bottle of 2 liters and you put petrol in and then you move on, hoping you're going to find something later. You also encounter this pressure as an outsider because they have no tourism. They don't see much white people or foreigners there. The moment they see you, they look at you as to beg money.
Rebel groups are still hiding in the impenetrable forests, attacking the official state army or civilian populations whenever they need supplies. UN troops have been here since the Civil War and intend to stay until the rebel factions are eradicated.
These troops of UN, they want to stay in Congo. Of course, they cannot just stay here doing nothing, because we've never seen them shooting and doing the real thing as army men. They keep going around, and where they are found, it's always places where minerals are found. So I think they have a hidden agenda that is making them staying long here. Yeah. These people are, I think, most of them have nothing, have no job. They are jobless, so they come to get job in Congo, and they look at themselves more precious than Congolese, the way I look at them. And yeah, of course, when one dies, the whole world will know, but when 100 Congolese can die, even 1,000, but no one will make it an issue. So this is a very serious problem. Congolese are dying. Millions of Congolese have died, but no one seems to care about it. But only one soldier of Monique, if he dies, then all the radios will speak about it.
In Congo, it's not enough to have a visa. Wherever you go, you'll need several authorizations that you can only get if you know the right people. Reverend Kisunzu helps us fill out the forms and puts us in touch with other pastors along our route. Then he accompanies us to the local information office to help speed up the authorizations. Church leaders are highly regarded here, and the authorities trust them. In a country where you're not even allowed to film the landscape, thanks to our microcam embedded in a pair of spectacle frames, we can even film in the authorities' office. If we're found out, we could end up in prison.
They gave us their approval to go in the pygmy area, of course not without $100. But it's first time we got the receipt, so it's okay. And they also promised us that in case that the rebels will kidnap us, they will do all their effort to send the government troops to save us.
Everyone wants to come to Congo. All these Americans, Europeans, and many nations want to come, make some business with Congo so that they can grab everything they have. So I don't think these problems of security that we are having, these problems of civil war will end. I don't think so, because whenever we have such problems, that's when people get advantage of coming and stealing. Because if the country is well organized, then many people may not get chances to come in and get whatever we have.
The Democratic Republic of Congo holds 80% of the world's coltan reserves, more than 60% of the world's cobalt, and produces 18% of the world's diamonds. It's the world's largest supplier of high-grade copper and holds about half of the hydroelectric potential of the whole continent. In June 2000, the United Nations established a panel of experts on the illegal exploitation of Congolese resources to examine links between the wars and natural resource exploitation. In 2002, the experts reported that 119 different companies were involved in the mining and transportation of Congolese minerals, including a large number of British, American, Belgian, and South African firms. The conflict in the Congo has created a win-win situation for all belligerents. The only loser in this huge business venture is the Congolese people.
So all these are riches that the Lord has given to Congolese. But one thing that hurts me is that Congolese are not, they don't have the chance of getting advantage of all these riches. They are poor, and I think the poorest man lives in Congo.
We're leaving for Aloya, a village located on the edge of the rainforest, which will be our base camp for the next few days. Not very far from where we are, Sebastian has some good friends that he visited in 2007, the Lugwara tribes. They're some of the most remote tribes on the planet.
I heard about you. And I always wanted to come to see you.
We've just learned that their part of the forest is packed with rebels who kidnap white people for ransom, so we decide to head straight for the pygmies.
Very recently, like a few weeks ago, a white guy was, they say, picked up by the Mai-Mais in the forest, and they still don't know what's happening there. So we should be very, very careful, and I think we wouldn't sleep in the pygmy camps as we hoped, and we have to come back each evening in the main village.
There are several things out there that you have no control over. The jungle diseases, malaria, yellow fever, typhoid fever. And in my life and in my experience, where I'm planning so many things at once and doing so many expeditions, I need to have control over these unknown factors. And in Congo, you never do. Of course, for those that live there, like Gabi, the situation is different. He learned and adapted to live with the people and find the cracks in the system so he can survive.
On the way, Madebro and Musavuli are expecting us, just as Reverend Kisunzo promised. They help us with the authorizations necessary in the villages we come across. Naturally, not without the required bribes. In Congo, the state doesn't take care of the roads, but the Congolese are always able to find solutions. Every Friday morning, the men gather to do community work. Most of the time, they fix the roads. As they do all the maintenance work, they see the road as theirs and ask for a toll from passers-by and especially from car drivers. The road is long and difficult, and we can't get to our destination by sundown. It's already night when we reach Aloya. White people, called Bazungu by the locals, are extremely rare in this area. Many of these children have never seen a white person. They react with a combination of fear and awe, which is hard to overcome. During the next few days, they will follow us at a distance. Everything we do is interesting to them, even sitting in a chair doing nothing at all. Gabi, however, is experienced and knows how to get closer to them. This child is asking for money, and Gabi's willing to give it to him if he comes closer. In just a few days, their attitude changes, and there's no way we can go anywhere alone. Aloya has approximately 50,000 inhabitants, which for Congo represents a small town. The people in this area are members of the Banande tribe, part of the larger Bantu tribal family. Here in the countryside, the village tribes are more peaceful, and the only major dangers are rebels and soldiers. Household tasks are usually done by women, even if these include strenuous jobs like carrying firewood. These women are carrying loads of around 100 pounds each. The men are mostly involved in procuring money for the family, such as selling handmade wood articles. Extracting palm oil and selling it at the market in the city is also a good source of income. Most of the children attend school. The system is based on the old European curriculum and teaching methods, and there are also good teachers. Sadly, many of these children will never use the skills learned in school, since there are few opportunities in the country.
Societies in Africa used to be peaceful. So I don't know how the devil works with education, because education was supposed to bring peace. Education was supposed to help people to live a peaceful life with others. But the more people get educated, the more crazy they become. So this is a real mess.
After a period resting in Aloya, it's time to go into the jungle and meet the pygmies. We buy salt, soap, and machetes. It might not seem like much to us, but they will be highly appreciated. Before we leave, we stop for petrol. The pygmies are just 30 miles away, so 2 or 3 bottles each will do for the return trip. On the way, we're pulled over and called to the local army office. As usual, we prepare some money, just in case.
Je suis responsable d'exporter des étrangers à telle mission, à tel milieu sécurisé. J'insiste, vous n'allez pas partir, vous ne pouvez pas partir comme ça, sa sécurisation. C'est très bien, on peut sortir à table, d'accord?
The lieutenant informs us that the Mai Mai rebels are in the area, and he can't let us go into the forest without an escort. We're not sure what one man could do against an army of rebels, but this is hardly the time to argue.
The term Mai Mai comes from Kiswahili word which means water. Mai. Mai is water. And they are called like this because in the war from 1995 till let's say 2001, they were using magic water to become bulletproof. So yeah, it's a bit of nonsense, but that's the way it is. And this rebel group is formed majorly out of children.
Les Mai Mai, pour leur coutume, ils ne veulent pas se voir avec les blancs. Ils ne veulent pas se voir avec une peau qui est différente de leur. Ils pensent que les blancs ont de l'argent. Ils viennent ici pour extraire l'or, pour venir extraire des minéraux. Pour ce, il faut les déranger, les torturer, même les faire marcher pieds nus, les tabasser, même les emprisonner, afin que leur pays d'origine puisse venir les récupérer dans la prison moyennant une grande somme d'argent. parce que ce sont des immoraux. On ne peut pas même les torturer et une fois vous venez récupérer votre blanc, vous devez laisser là de l'argent, une grande somme.
If you are a white guy, or if you are from Uganda or from Rwanda, and you are traveling into Congo, you are a potential target for them, because they just don't like foreigners to get into their country.
The road through the jungle seems extremely difficult to us, but we're told it's in much better shape now since it hasn't rained for a few days and the soil is dry. Gabby is experienced in riding a motorcycle through the jungle, but in situations like this, he has to leave things to the professionals or risk plunging into the river, motorcycle and all. On our way, we come across a Christian mass, combined with strong African elements. Finally, after a 6-day journey, we meet our first pygmies. We find them near a village in the jungle. By now, we're used to the children being terrified of white people and bursting into tears at our presence. The pygmies are scattered around the forest as usual, looking for food. They do know, however, how to find each other. We meet up with some of them, then cross the river in order to find the rest. We know that the Mai Mai rebels are based across the river, so we don't want to hang around there for too long. About 500,000 pygmies are believed to live in the Congo River basin, where they eke out a subsistence existence. The forest is their only hiding place. But even here, they're the victims of many abuses. Both sides in the civil war regarded them as subhuman, believing that their flesh can confer magical powers if eaten. These remote tribes are social outcasts. Although they were the first inhabitants of these places, they have no land, no rights, and no voice in society. It seems it was a perfect job for Sebastian. After hearing about them in 2007, he organized his first expedition to the Congo.
My name is Sebastian from Canada.
Jina lake ndiye Sebastian, anatoka Canada.
For 5 years.
Kwa miaka 5.
What really broke me when I saw the pygmies for the first time was their tremendous sadness that you can see on their face. The sadness in their eyes. And talking to some of them, they explained to me, if you've seen the things we've seen, if you've been through the things we've been, you would understand. Because these people have been decimated by the rebels, eaten, killed, burned right in front of their wives and children in what it's called the ritualistic cannibalism in the former war of Congo. And nobody really cares about these people. Nobody really pays any attention to them. They call them the thieves of the jungle because they have no land. They have to survive as they can.
Today, even if the abuses are scarcer, their lives are far from easy. Once we get them all together, we give them the gifts, and we're astonished by how much these small items mean to them and the joy that they bring.
Okay.
Thank you.
Vous allez partager, ok. Because I spent such a long time away from these people, I was afraid they will not know me anymore, and also that they will be afraid to speak to us, or they will be afraid to meet with us. But as you saw, as we saw, everything went well, and they were very happy to see us. So I'm also happy because I got to see them again.
The Bambute Pygmies are among the very few tribes left on the planet that are still nomads. They move from place to place looking for fruit, fish, and other sources of food. If they want a bigger catch of fish, they form large groups and head for a small river where they can use fishing nets. It seems that a young pygmy girl likes a member of our team, so she courts him by taking care of him.
The thing that made me be so close to them is that they are in fact children. They act like children, they play like children, they live like children. They create relationships like children. Even the name of their tribe in Swahili language means children also.
The plan is for some of them to splash the water and scare the fish into the other pygmies' nets. However, once they reach the fishing spot, it all turns into a game, and the outcome is pretty much what you'd expect. They never store food. Instead, they just gather enough for the day. Pygmy is a pejorative term meaning dwarf people. They themselves prefer the term forest people. And when we see them climbing trees, we understand why. Freedom is the very essence of their way of life. They're used to doing anything they want, anytime they want to. Once they've decided where to stay for the coming days, they camp. If it's necessary, they'll build a house. This takes about 20 minutes. No planning permits, no utility connections, and most importantly, no 25-year mortgage.
Sawa. Bien sana kabisa. Petit.
Okay.
Dances aren't conducted according to any schedule and need not take place on special occasions. Cooking is a new thing for them. Not long ago, they ate everything raw, including meat. Their food is usually simple, based on plants gathered in the forest and on cassava flour, which they boil into a sticky dough. While the food is being prepared, Gabby wants to make sure that Sebastian's project in the area is still in use. After his first visit here in 2007, Sebastian found out that many pygmies no longer want to drink water from the river and started building natural water filtration systems.
It looks very simple and it's very basic, but it's very helpful. First, because there was no spring coming out, so the people would come with a plate or something to take the out from the, like a small pan, and then put in their jerrycans. And now it's flowing, and the most important benefit of this water source is that the water is clean now, which eliminates the danger of typhoid and cholera and some other intestinal infections. 14 sources as this were made, and we are glad that we can help.
Mopila is one of their leaders. He's trying to explain their needs to Gabby.
De ces médicaments ou des soins est difficile, ils ont engagé beaucoup d'aide là-bas. Ça, c'est le premier problème, c'est ce que je viens de dire. Si les problèmes qui sont là, ils veulent que les enfants puissent étudier, mais ils sont toujours refoulés à cause des frais scolaires. C'est tout ce que... Joël,
Nous allons essayer de couvrir une partie avec frais scolaires, une partie avec des médicaments. Il faut lui demander quels sont les médicaments plus utilisés. Je pense que c'est pour la maladie.
Oui.
Lately, although they still live in the forest, they've started to send their children to school, but tuition fees are quite high, and this is something that Sebastian can help them with. After a few days with the pygmies, we receive word from the lieutenant that it might be a good idea to leave.
So these rebels, Mai, who are beyond the river that we crossed, also heard about us, and of course they'll be in their way in the next 1 or 2 days just to come and see what's happening.
We now have enough information for Sebastian, and we don't think it's necessary to stay any longer. In the Congo, life is never a game, and if you make mistakes, you must be ready to pay with your life. Since we have a car, with a little bit of luck, we'll manage to move faster than the Mai and leave the area in time.
Here we are in Uganda!
In the next episode, Sebastian gets his strength back and continues his journey, visiting the Inuit in the Arctic regions.